What's up, Norberg Nation? How's it going? So today we're going to be talking about a topic that affects every single driver at every level of their career. This is something that I struggle with quite a bit, and that is overdriving. Have you come in from a session on the racetrack complaining about what's going wrong with the go-kart, only to have your mechanic or coach tell you that you were overdriving and it doesn't matter what you want to be done to the go-kart, it will not perform the way you want it to? This is something that happened quite a bit early in my career and still happens to this day. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how to overcome overdriving. But before we get into that, I have to ask you guys a question. Has this channel made you faster on the racetrack? And do you want to go even faster? Well, if you answered yes, you need to pay attention. I am teaming up with Blaze to become their lead karting coach. Blaze is an online coaching service where you can work with the best coaches in the world, including myself. So, do you want me to be your coach? With Blaze, you can easily send your onboard video and get personalized, in-depth coaching from me. You can even receive live calls, chat messaging during any race weekend, and more with any of the world-class coaches at Blaze. Blaze has now worked with over 1,000 race car drivers, and on average, their lap times have improved by more than a second after just one coaching session on Blaze. So if you're looking to go faster and you want me as your coach, make sure to click the link in the description down below and get started with Blaze today. So to understand how not to overdrive, we first have to understand what is overdriving. Overdriving is when the driver is asking the go-kart to do something it physically cannot do. Now, with that being said, it seems pretty easy to fix that. Majority of the time when you're overdriving, you're just going into the corner too fast, and the first way to fix that is just to brake sooner. But the biggest problem with overdriving is a lot of drivers don't realize they're doing it till after the session's already over. When you're looking at data, that's when you really see that, oh, I was going in too late on the brakes, or oh, I was trying to carry too much speed into this corner. But at that point, it's too late. You've already lost the race, or you've already wasted a session. So the big question is, how do we recognize overdriving before we finish our session? Well, today I'm going to be talking about a few ways to recognize if you're overdriving before your session is over. And hopefully with this knowledge, you'll be able to correct the mistakes that you're making on the racetrack every single lap, and you'll save yourself some trouble with arguing with your mechanic after the race is over. So the first telltale sign of overdriving is sliding. Sliding on the racetrack is when you're exceeding the limits of the tire. They physically cannot grip to the racetrack anymore, and now they're giving way and sliding across the racetrack. Now, we all know that sliding is not the fastest way around the racetrack, but to be fast, you're always on that limit of sliding, and there's always a little bit of room where sliding is okay with the go-kart. You want it to be free. You don't want it to be super gripped down to the racetrack. So how do you know when too much sliding is overdriving? Well, normally what happens when you're overdriving is you lose the back end of the go-kart on entry into the corner. If you feel like you're losing the back end of the go-kart as soon as you turn the steering wheel, you're most likely overdriving. What happens is you head into the corner and you hit your brakes, you turn the steering wheel, and then the back end starts to step out. Even though you're able to catch the go-kart in the center of the corner and stop the slide, by the exit of the corner, normally you're running out of racetrack. If this is happening, you need to back the corner up. You need to recognize that you're overdriving, and you need to slow the kart down a little bit sooner to keep the kart underneath you in the center of the corner. This is what overdriving is. You're trying to do something that the go-kart physically cannot do. You're going into the corner too fast, and the kart cannot handle that much speed. So you have to bring the corner back, recognize that you're going into the corner too fast, and keep the kart underneath you in the center of the corner. The next sign that you're probably overdriving is that you're missing your apexes. Now, this sounds pretty obvious and seems like just an easy fix, but I know so many drivers that are okay missing their apexes by more than 6 or 7 inches. Now, a half foot doesn't seem like a lot, but that can put you off the rubber just enough. Because you're missing the rubber by just that little bit, you're losing that little bit of speed and that little bit of grip that you need to go around the racetrack. You know, the kart might have not slid going into the corner, but because you missed the apex by a little bit, you're not able to carry as much speed into the corner as you want to. You're losing time in this portion of the racetrack, so you need to make sure you're hitting your apexes. The most grip in the corner is normally right next to the curb and right next to the apex. So to keep your kart in the optimal grip condition, you need to be on the racing line right at the apex of every single corner. So if you see yourself missing apexes pretty consistently by more than 6 or 7 inches, you're probably overdriving the corner. This is a way that you can recognize you're overdriving before it's too late. Another way that you can tell if you're overdriving is if you're fighting the go-kart. Just like the definition says, you're trying to get the go-kart to do something that it physically cannot do. So you're forcing the kart there and it just doesn't want to be on that particular spot of the racetrack. You're fighting with the go-kart. Something that I was told early in my career is if it feels fast to be driving a kart, you're driving wrong and you're overdriving. At first, I didn't understand what this meant because go-karting is fast. It's a fast sport. But if the corners are coming up quickly and you feel out of control and everything's just coming at you super quickly, you're overdriving it. Karting should not be something where you're second guessing yourself every second on the racetrack. You should be well in control of the go-kart. Fast drivers are smooth drivers. They're drivers who are in control of the kart. They're not surprised with what's being thrown at them on the racetrack. So if you feel like you're going into a corner and you're really struggling to get back to the other side of the racetrack to set up correctly for the next corner, you're overdriving. You don't need to be fighting with the go-kart every single corner. If you come off the racetrack and you're exhausted, you're probably overdriving. Karting really isn't that physically demanding. You're allowing the kart to do the majority of the work. You're just guiding it along the racetrack. So don't fight with your karts. You guys need to be in tune together. You need to be one machine. So if you feel like you're fighting with your go-kart, you feel like you're not able to get to the correct spot on the racetrack at the correct time, you're probably overdriving. The fourth way to tell if you're overdriving, and I think this is one of the most obvious ways to tell you're overdriving, is if you're turning in too early to the corners. This is something I deal with so much with drivers. The natural instinct you have when you're overdriving is to pinch the go-kart in and turn in early. You're afraid you're gonna miss the corner, so you start veering in just a little bit early to make sure you get down to the curb. But the problem with that is now you're missing your apex. You're pinching off the corner and creating a tighter radius around this corner. So if you realize you're turning in early to all the corners, take a second and understand that you're probably overdriving. Like we spoke about earlier, you always need to be hitting your apexes. If you catch yourself turning in earlier and not hitting your apexes, most likely you're going into the corner too fast and you need to back up. And finally, when you're racing, one of the most obvious ways to understand you're overdriving compared to your competition is when you get the accordion effect. The accordion effect is when you catch the driver in front of you in the braking zone and then they just pull away on the exit of the corner. And then in the next braking zone, you catch them again, and then they just pull away again. And it's this constant ongoing accordion with you and the other driver. If you catch yourself doing this where you're not really making up any ground on the driver in front of you, you need to recognize that you're probably overdriving. There's probably a happy medium between what you're doing and what the other driver's doing. You could probably brake a little bit later than the other driver, but you don't need to be braking as late as you are right now. So like I said earlier, you need to recognize what's going on the racetrack. See that this process of catching the driver in the braking zone and then losing him on the exit of the corner, it's not working. And so you have to try something different. So hopefully this helps you guys recognize when you guys are overdriving. We all know that overdriving is bad, and we all know that we need to quit doing it when we're on the racetrack. But if you can't recognize it while you're on the racetrack, it's gonna waste a whole session because you have to wait till you go review data or wait till you talk to your mechanic so that they can tell you what to do. Ideally, you'll be able to recognize it a few laps and calm yourself back down so that you stop overdriving. A great racer can take themselves out of the immediate situation and recognize their weaknesses on the racetrack. Ideally, you'll be able to recognize your weaknesses while you're on the racetrack, fix them, and then improve your race because of it. That action that you take in the middle of the session will help in the long run. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also comment down below if you guys are going to be at the SCUSA Winter Series next week. I'll be there, so I'd love to meet you guys if you guys are at the event. Again, make sure to check out Blaze if you guys want me to be your coach. This is an awesome opportunity that I never really got when I first started karting. This is something that I definitely would have taken advantage of early in my career, and it definitely would have helped me grow as a driver. So again, make sure you click that link in the description and get started today. And finally, make sure to check out my Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok because we'll be posting some awesome racing content on there as well. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.